Farrakhan. But this discourse for the last few minutes leads perfectly to the question I wanted to ask you. Again, we're putting everything on the table today in love and in truth. I have received significant pushback from certain people across this country who believe that the very nature of this conversation on C-SPAN is wrong. Is wrong. That this is not a conversation. Tavis, take that stuff to the back room. Y'all Negroes get together where the camera's not around. And those meetings do happen. There's no doubt about that. He meets with a variety of people, and black leaders, you know, have their own meetings. But what about the notion that that coming together, having these kinds of conversations in the public square, in the public, on national television is wrong and not very good, not very wise strategically?
I think a wise man would listen to his or her critics. Sister Julianne Malveaux was a very strong critic of mine. And when I had the privilege to talk to my sister, I thanked her. Why do you thank somebody who criticizes you? Because your friends sometimes are not real good friends if they don't tell you the thing that you need to hear.
That's right.
So when my sister criticized me, I loved her more because I saw her as honest, as a strong black woman who was not going to let a strong black man get away with what she thought I might be getting away with. This is a wonderful dialogue. Here's my concern. You know, in the barber shop and in the beauty parlor, we say a lot of things. But when Ice Cube took the barber shop out of the barber shop into the public square, and then words were spoken about Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Reverend Jackson. See, I said to my brother, I said, brother, you have to remember that this is a movie that will live long after we are gone. And to say what was said about Dr. King, maybe 50 years from now, that movie will be brought up and they'll say, this is what these black people thought of Dr. King, and reverse the holiday. Now, what I'm looking at is not our conversation, because our conversation is around that word love. We love our brother, and even if we have some disappointment or some dissatisfaction, I was always hoping that what was said would be without any vitriol. Because vitriol poisons the communication. Nobody at this table spoke with vitriol, but spoke with passion. Now, I have spoken with passion on several occasions. And the next day, I wouldn't recognize my words. Because there are those outside of this table that will interpret or misinterpret what went on here today. Now, I'm going to say this to America. When my brother Jesse Jackson was running for president, a great controversy arose. When I stood up to defend him, I was called the new black Hitler. An atmosphere was being created by the media where my brother could have been assassinated because others feared his run for the presidency of the United States. My concern for us is this: President Obama is our brother. What can we expect from him? We have many black mayors, but the condition of black people in the cities has not changed. We've had black governors, but the condition of black people in those states where we have black governors has not appreciably changed. So having a black president, and I like the analogy of our brother Jackie Robinson, because he had to be of a certain mind to suffer what he suffered, to open a door for others that came behind him. He suffered much and died too young because of the tremendous pressure that's on him. President Obama has aged during the campaign, even before becoming the president. You've seen his hair turn gray because he's dealing with things some of us may not appreciate what our brother is dealing with. I want to, if I may, just a few things, because I want to address the media, because there are writers who will interpret this meeting. And maybe when we read it in the New York Times that is here today, or the Washington Post, or the Chicago Tribune, or the New York Post, or papers that don't like Obama to begin with. Today I read just this morning that the brother-in-law of Netanyahu of Israel went on national radio to say that Obama was anti-Semitic. An anti-Semite is in the White House. Of course, Netanyahu backed away from his brother-in-law's statement, but the point is Obama is not loved in Israel because he had the chutzpah, I guess you could say. That's a Jewish term that meant testicular fortitude.
Minister Farrakhan, it could just mean nerve.
Yeah.
It could just mean nerve. You did not have to go there, for the record. Let's not genderize this conversation.
Well, I didn't mean it that way, but thank you. I'll accept that. He had the nerve.
Thank you.
Ovarian audacity.
I said let's not genderize the conversation.
Wait. This is wonderful. Believe me.
Everybody say in love.
I want to finish.
All right.
May I finish my point, though?
Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
When the 12 members of the Jewish organizations visited the Oval Office to press him about not pushing Israel for the settlements in the West Bank, and he had the nerve to push back and say, you got nothing under Bush, and he stood up. Well, he's suffering now. This attack on the president is real. I would not want them to think we are a part of their motivation and their attack on our brothers. Please hear me. When a Baptist preacher could stand up in his church and say that he's offering precatory prayers, I never heard the word before. so I had to look it up.
Right.
But it meant that he was praying that God would kill President Obama.
Right.
Now they have our brother as a socialist, and they've shown him now with Hitler's mustache. They are demonizing him.
Right.
And this is feeding that racist element in this country that would like to take him out. And I'm talking about assassination.
Right.
He came into office riding on a train from Philadelphia to Washington because that was the path of Lincoln. He is more akin to the Kennedy brothers than many. He's very lovable and likable and popular and beautiful. And his wife, the most beautiful black woman to be by his side with beautiful black children, that they have styled her as a chimpanzee. Oh man. So I'm concerned today of how this media will interpret the good thing that Tavis Smiley and all of us gathered at this table are here to do, which is to say to our brother president, think about us. Speak and use your bully pulpit to encourage people to give justice. Because Martin Luther King said, it is not your power that makes you great. It is a nation's righteousness that makes them great. Wow. And he said, how would you like to be remembered? He said, I want to be remembered as a drum major for justice.
Yeah.
And at this table, out of love for our brother, we are calling him to fight for justice for those deprived of it.
Yeah.
But if the racist element in this country, which is very strong, decide that if the health bill passes, Obama is winning. He's gone past the Republicans now, but he's fighting with his own Democratic brethren who have been hamstringing him as well. He's walking a very tight rope with no safety net under it. Now, if the media mistakes our loving critique, admonition, rebuke, and exhortation to our brother,
Tell it, minister.
and then say that we hate him, and then use this as a stamp of approval on a death warrant for our brother, then none of us will ever be able to stand in front of our people again if they believe that we join this conversation as haters of our brother. So we want to make that very clear.
Love.
Very clear. Now, last point I'm making. The last point. If you don't like our brother, vote him out. We can bear to lose an election, but we cannot bear to make Michelle and her children fatherless and husbandless as we saw with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I'm warning you, America, they got it on YouTube, should he be assassinated?
Yeah, they do.
That's right.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
It's on
And
YouTube.
nobody's jumping on the preacher who's praying that God kills him.
Right.
See, this is real in America when you disturb the powers that run things.
Yeah.
I'll close with this. Our brother was selected before he was elected. Wait a minute. Now, all of you know something about kingmakers. When people in back rooms come to somebody who's popular, somebody who's intelligent, that don't speak with a Negro dialect, a light-skinned Negro,
Well,
that is non-threatening to white people because they can see themselves in him because he's part them and part us. This is political scheming which Senator Reid got involved in. He didn't mean no harm. He was just talking about the white mentality.
right.
That's right.
So now, when you select a man, the man may never know what your purpose was. Because I understand that his initial victory in Iowa was financed largely by Goldman Sachs. I don't know the truth. That's what I've read. Now look, who selected a junior senator that hadn't even got his foot wet in the Senate and made him believe that he, from that position, could become president of the United States? I suggest to you that the people that looked at him and saw his brilliance, saw that that brilliance could be used for a purpose that was not our agenda. Now, I'm closing now. The people that chose him know the time that we are living at the end of America's rule as a great power in the world. Now you have to face it. She's bankrupt. What are you going to do when the dollar is worth nothing? They are printing money out of thin air to back these programs. So my brother may be disappointing some that thought he would be what maybe he has the nerve not to be. So I say to all of you in this room and all who are watching by television, we need to pray for our brother and his family and warn America, leave that brother alone.
Minister Farrakhan,
Let me.
I have a question for Minister Farrakhan. And it's a very serious question. I heard what you said, and I understand what you're saying. But what you gave is, you just gave reasons why, to the average person that might be listening out there, and really I tell you, we're operating under fear right now. And the average person will now say, Minister Farrakhan said this, so I might not need to move. I might not need to do anything in terms of our agenda and our people to move. I know what you're saying. It can be said that that's why we don't need to do anything.
Right.
But you got millions of families black families in America, black babies, black men, black women who are suffering. Who speaks for them? Nobody in America right now speaks for black people, whether they're elected, anointed, or appointed. Whenever they mention black people, they say minority, or they say women, Hispanic, black people. The Latino community, Hispanic is really, first of all, not a race, it's a culture. And so they come together around common cause to get something. We work with Latino, we didn't work with Hispanic, we work with the Latino, which is a whole different thing. So you have Gutierrez who have no problems talking about the Latino community. You have your white Tea Party, you have Lipinski, all the rest of them talking about the white community. You have labor, and I know a lot of folks with labor in here, pushing bills, but at the same time they won't allow black folks to get in the unions. You have them saying, bring us the shovel-ready projects, and you drive down the Dan Ryan or drive down 47th Street or 55th Street, don't see no black folks working. So we have to, and I guess I'm just free. Dr. King gave his life. Dr. King said, if you're not ready to die, don't go to war.
Say that again.
If you're not ready to die, don't go to war. Wear your cemetery suit, because there's going to be some casualty. Not that I want our president. I'm saying that in our community right now, there is no other community in this country that's suffering more than us. You said America's coming to its end, and I'm going to end this tab, I don't want to tell him.
I'm going to jump in, yeah.
I'm going to say, but with us, those of us who are descendants of enslaved Africans in America, we have no currency in no country. We have a continent, but we have no currency in country, which means that we have a right to the resources because of all the things that you said that we've done. So that's my concern right now.
Let me jump in. I'm going to let you respond.
But you understand what I'm saying?
I got what you're saying, number one. Number two, I'm going to turn that into a very short question for the brother minister to hone in on the point you're making. Before I do that, on the stage to my right, the platform to my right, where you saw Father Flager give the invocation and Dr. Watson welcome us in 2 minutes because we're going to lose C-SPAN in an hour, and I promise the last hour would go to you to ask questions. Don't all jump at once, but if you want to move toward my right, there's a line. There are our guides and helpers over here to my right will line you up. They're already lined up good. So if you want to get in line for a question, we got an hour. For Q&A with the audience, you're going to have 30 seconds to make your statement or ask your question, and you will be cut off at 30 seconds, whether you are done or not. And we're going to do that. We're going to cut you off in love, but you will be cut off. But the line is starting to my right, and we're going there literally in 2 minutes after Minister Farrakhan addresses this question posed by our dear sister Dorothy, which is, and we all know what you meant. I know what you meant. But her question basically is, we don't want folk to think that you are suggesting that to have critical dialogue, critique of the president when he's wrong, is going to aid and abet those who want to assassinate him.
No, he heard my question.
Yeah, he got it.
But it was more than that. You heard all of it, right?
We got it.
Very loud and very clear, and I would just answer like this.
Sure.
The Bible says the fearful and the unbelieving will have their part in a lake that burns with fire. Ooh. Any of us in this audience that are afraid, the fear that you have has already limited your ability to participate in a black agenda. So fear is what the enemy ruled us with.
Come on, minister.
And fear is what he put into our mothers so that we could drink the milk of fear from our mother's breast. So I'm not trying to inspire anyone to be afraid. I'm inspiring you to be critical in that principle of love. But as I said that, I'm warning our enemies and his enemy. Don't play with what we did here today and make mockery of sincere exhortation of our president.
We got it.
That's all I'm saying. And I'm also warning to keep your hands off of him. And to the government of the United States, do your best to protect him. You slipped up and let people walk in to a dinner that they had no business being in. Your security is not what it should be. So tighten it up.
And the church said, all right. There are any number of reasons, but there's one reason above all else why I asked him to join us today, because whenever you invite him, you know you get mail saying, why you invite him? Please welcome Minister Louis Farrakhan. Now, let me tell you, there are any number of reasons. There are any number of reasons why I invited the brother minister to be at this table today. But I want to say to you directly that the primary reason I wanted you here today is because I want to hear this for myself, and I wanted to see you when I heard it, and I know we all want to hear it as well. You were very clear 2 years ago when you said that you were going to take a particular approach to President Obama, to then Senator Obama's campaign. You were going to take my paraphrasing here, you were going to take a particular approach to his running for the White House because you did not want people to take your words. You didn't want Farrakhan to be used against Barack Obama in his journey toward the White House. And so you took a particular approach. That was 2 years ago when he said he was running. Now he's been in the White House for a year. So it's been 2 years that Minister Farrakhan has chosen a particular approach because he did not want to be used by these forces against Barack Obama. Tell me why that is the case, number one. And in a contemporary sense, how do you respond to folk who think that that approach is Farrakhan walking on eggshells, so to speak?
Well, first, I want to thank Dr. Wayne Watson for hosting this. I want to thank Brother Tavis Smiley for gathering us all together, and I want to thank everyone that I have heard, because you all spoke so beautifully to the problem. Now, to answer your question very quickly, I love black people, and I make no excuses for that. And I'm interested in that which our people want more than what sometimes I think is best for them. In New York, David Dinkins wanted to be mayor. But he knew that in order to be mayor in a city where there was so much Jewish power, he had to pander to that ethnicity. And he beat me up on television over and over again in ads. I could have gone into New York literally and destroyed the brother. Excuse me for being very frank. But I felt that black people in New York wanted a black mayor, so I remained quiet. Not because I couldn't defend myself, not because my ego was bruised by what he was saying, but our people in New York wanted a black mayor. They got it, and what is the result? At Reverend Jackson's affair one day, Percy Sutton came to me and patted me on my shoulder, the late Percy Sutton, and thanked me for not hurting David Dinkins' chances to be mayor. On CNN, I was questioned after I spoke in 2007 about Barack Obama. And CNN said, well, what do you think about this young man? I said, I think he's brilliant. I think he has fresh ideas. But I'm under no illusion that even if he did become president, that he could change the reality of black suffering in America, because when you are running for something, you can say a lot of things, but when you sit in the seat and you feel the energy of electricity putting something on your backside, the forces that surround power is always the real power. President Obama does not run this country. President Obama has been chosen to govern white affairs. And if in that process we get something, it won't be because the governing powers want it. It will be because we organized and forced a government to speak to our needs. Now, look, thank you for the question. You know, I want it clearly said in love that I love my brother. I voted for him. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I was out there with my wife voting for our brother. I, like you, am very proud that a black man sits in the White House. But I also understand very clearly, and we should understand, that it is the White House. And until we exercise power to force that house to address our agenda. Now remember, our dear sister Julianne Malveaux mentioned A. Philip Randolph. Man, that was a long time ago. And the cry was jobs and justice. In the March on Washington in 1963, the cry was jobs and justice. In the 20-year anniversary of the March on Washington, the cry was jobs and justice. We are now in 2010. And what is the cry? Jobs and justice. Well, wait a minute. How long are you going to sit around begging white people to do for us what we have the power to do for ourselves? Excuse me.
And the church
I'm quite passionate, so
Amen.
you all set me off. You know that. And I love it. But listen, an agenda is a program, a schedule, a timetable, a plan, a list, a scheme to accomplish a certain result. We have come up with black agendas, but we've been looking to the wrong people to fulfill our agenda. If to the wrong people to fulfill our agenda. If Franklin Delano Roosevelt said to A. Philip Randolph, yeah, everything you told me is right. The Negroes need this, the Negroes are suffering that. Now you go out and make me do it. Do you think that having a black face in the White House means that we don't have to make him do it?
That's right.
That's right.
Who surrounds him? Let me even go up a bit further. I just
It's all right. It's all right, Minister.
look. Our brother is brilliant. He got a good heart. I think he really loves America and wants to make America better. He wanted to ease the pain between America and the Muslim world. He wants to solve the problem of Israel and the Palestinians. He has the heart to want to make America better. But he's like that camel in the Quran that God warned the people, don't hamstring his camel. They didn't care what God wanted. They hamstrung the camel. Every one of our brothers and sisters that spoke today, we have a right to expect something from our brother. 97% of our people voted for him. Yes, there's trouble asset relief program, but there's no. There is still racist America between the money being sent down and it coming to those who need it most. If he does not use his bully pulpit to address that, we can fault him for that. But wait a minute. In love.
Everybody say it.
In love.
Say it again. One more again.
Okay, I want to deal with that word. Because love is bigger than some emotional feeling. The word love, you can change the vowel O to I and the consonant V to F. When you have love, real love, you have life. And that's why the scripture says we can tell that we have passed from death into life because we love the brotherhood. Okay? Now, I was with Elijah Muhammad one day, my teacher, and he said to me, brother, you're always talking about love. Define it for me. And I went into my Webster's emotional dictionary stuff. And he said, brother, where there is freedom, where there is justice, where there is equality, there is love and there is life. Our problem is we have been looking to the wrong source to give us freedom, justice, equality, love, and life. O.J. Simpson was charged with murder. And in a court of law with a jury of his peers, he was set free. A lot of folk didn't like that, so they sued him. And he lost in court because even though he was not convicted of murder, they said he's responsible. White folk are rich and powerful, the rich and powerful, because black folk worked for 310 years as chattel slaves and got not one day's pay. I could call out the rich and the powerful whose riches have been gotten on our backs, but I'll save that for another time. The point is, the present generation of whites did not do this. But the present generation of whites are in their privileged position because of what a former generation of whites have done. Now the question is, a black agenda should be put before them, because if they don't accept the responsibility to clean up this problem, you don't have a lot of time to wait 40 more years for a benevolent white president or a benevolent black president. That day is over. America is facing the judgment of God as we sit around this table. Look at the weather. Look at the world turning down on her. America is bankrupt. $13 trillion in debt. And if you figure Medicare and Medicaid, she's over $60 trillion in debt. She can never pay it. That's why she voted for $650 billion in armament, because she can't pay the debt. But she can bully those whom she is in debt to with fear over her military prowess. I'm here to tell you she's losing there too. Now I close. Our people need repair.
Yes.
We need repair from 310 years of chattel slavery, where black men were forced to be studs, to make black women pregnant, to make more slaves for the slave master. And that same unhealthy attitude of misusing our women and making babies that we have no desire to take care of is still with us. Willie Lynch, who gave the ways that we could keep being divided so that they could rule us for 1,000 years, that sickness is still with us. Yes, we got a black president, but brother said it was confusion. He confused the issue. But really, he never wants to lose the white vote. So if he loses the white vote, he don't care that you voted for him. But if he loses the white vote, he feels he will lose. Dear brother, if you're watching, out of love.
Out of love.
There it is. That's right.
You won't lose the white vote of those whites that really understand this problem and know that this problem needs to be solved, and we can't keep relegating it to generation after generation because a few of us got a little money, a few of us got positions, a few of us have wealth, while the masses of our people are going steadily down. No one man can rise above the condition of his people.
Amen.
So President Obama, this august body of brothers and sisters that really love you want you to use your bully pulpit, but then after you do that, then what about us? See, brother said responsibility. Is it that we should let them take responsibility to do for us, or should we pool the knowledge that's at the table, the power that's in our community, the wealth that's in our community to change the harsh reality of black life in America? He can create an atmosphere.
That's what it is.
But we have to do the job of fulfilling the black agenda. Thank you very much.
Argument against him already.
I'm glad can you hear me? No, I'm glad you raised that, because that's very real. There are a number of highly misguided right-wing white brothers and sisters who are engaged in assault and attack, and could even attempt to kill him. So we have to protect our brother. There's no doubt about that. And we have to keep track of those forces that will lie, degrade in the same way that we concern with anybody. He is our brother. He needs to be protected. He needs to be respected. But love also leads us to say he needs to be corrected. Corrected when he sides with the strong against the weak. And that's why this gathering is not just significant, but I think the world can see the truth-telling that has taken place around this table already, with tears flowing in our eyes precisely because we know the level of suffering that's taking place this very moment. I want to just say a quick word, though, about what my dear brother, Mr. Louis Farrakhan, was talking about in terms of the forces around Brother Barack Obama. People might recall 3 years ago in Jamestown, we told folk, anybody who makes it to the Oval Office is going to in some way be predicated on various interests that historically have been indifferent to black people, poor people, and working people. It is not just white brothers and sisters in the abstract. We're talking about corporate interests. We're talking about Wall Street oligarchs. We're talking about those at the top that have been making billions and billions and billions of dollars when 21% of all America's children live in poverty and 38% of black children live in poverty. This is not just black versus white. We're talking about corporate elites at the highest level. But when you look at the folk around Brother Barack Obama, Tim Geithner, Larry Summers, Goolsbee, all of them come out of the Wall Street context. So already it was clear that they have no history of being concerned with poor and working people. Where were the progressive voices, trade union voices, black voices, brown voices, red voices who got him in? Now he can say, well, Brother West, I needed to reassure the establishment, and therefore I had to bring in the folk who helped create the crisis and the mess in the first place. I say, my brother, I love you. It's plausible, but it's not persuasive. It's not persuasive. Same is true on the international scene. America is an empire in relative decline because of corporate greed, because of military overstretch, war in Afghanistan, war in Iraq, drones in Pakistan, and still siding with right-wing forces in Latin America. It's in the culture's in relative decay because if we can put the greed and the lust and keep people so obsessed with their immediate pleasure, you can pacify them, keep them fearful, and never stand up for justice. You can't have a movement for freedom if everybody's obsessed with lust for pleasure. That's why the younger generation is hungry for more than the lust, but all they are getting every day is orgiastic free play, obsession with stimulation, titillation, unconcerned with broader struggles for freedom. That's why our attempt here is really an act of ancestor appreciation. We are here because of Marcus Garvey and Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X and those persons who love black folk enough, so in that particular tradition wanted to tell the truth. We're here because of Frederick Douglass and Ida B. Wells Barnett and Martin King. And you know what? We're here because of nameless, anonymous grandmothers and grandfathers who loved us enough, because we are who we are because people loved us. And we're going to love folk from the bottom and spill over, even when there's corporate forces around our dear brother that tilts him toward investment bankers. If Jamal and Letitia can be treated with the privilege that investment bankers on Wall Street are, we could be breakdancing right now. We wouldn't have that done.
Reverend Jackson, let me ask you a question. You can answer any way you